Follow us on social media and please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any updates from our ALS experts.
All right, folks, welcome. You know, dressing to be yourself is fun, and there's a lot of choices out there in life. And so all I want to say is your extended family is here tonight to get a lot of good ideas. So we'll just turn it over to you, Lisa.
Thanks, McMinn. Hello, and welcome everyone to tonight's ALS Talk Series. I am Lisa Deegan, for those who don't know me, and I'm part of the Everything ALS team. I lost my younger brother, John, to ALS a few years ago. So tonight we're super excited to present Dress with Success While Living with ALS. Adaptable, stylish, and easy to put on clothing and shoes for those who are living with ALS and also the caregivers. So we have Billy Price from BILLY Footwear and Izzy Camilleri from Izzy Adaptive to share their stylish and adaptive clothing and footwear options. And also we are excited to have Bevan Jett from Everything ALS team to help demonstrate techniques that help making getting dressed a snap. We're also going to provide you all with a list of other resources and vendors to fit every budget. And I know that getting dressed really is something that each of us do every day. And when my brother had ALS, I remember helping him to get ready to go meet the former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton. This time she was running for president. And he wanted to go and talk with her to spread awareness for the need for ALS treatments that were effective and the need for government funding for ALS. And he was very nervous about this. And he knew he was going to have to use the restroom when we were there. It was at somebody's home in Atherton. And he needed pants that he could take on and off by himself without the help of his sister, as his hands were incredibly weak. So his only option was sweatpants. And he was so devastated because for him, he wanted to look really sharp and feel great about this. And I just remember his disappointment, and I felt, oh, I just wasn't prepared, and I wish I knew of other options, and I just didn't have time. And, you know, we were faced with this, and I just thought, oh, you know, and that it really upset him. But nonetheless, we did get to speak to her, and it was great. And that's what he wanted to do, is spread awareness. So we're really excited to bring some of these resources to you all tonight. Before I introduce the speakers really quick, we need your help to help us accelerate treatments for ALS. So please sign up for our speech study at everythingals.org/research and learn how we can help end ALS together. We need everybody's help. Also check out our podcast, Stories and Innovations in ALS. It's now on Spotify, also on our YouTube channel. We're just sharing stories of those affected and those fighting to find a cure and do good care for those living with ALS. So now for tonight's presenters, we have Billy Price. He's the owner of BILLY Footwear. He suffered a spinal cord injury, which left him paralyzed, losing his ability to use his fingers. So using his creative mind and unyielding spirit, BILLY Footwear was founded, along with co-founder Darin Donaldson. Billy strives to add value to the lives of others and make a measurable difference in the world, 1 foot at a time. Also, we have Izzy Camilleri. She's one of Canada's leading fashion designers, and her designs have been featured in publications like Vogue, InStyle, Harper's Bazaar, Forbes, and Fashionista.com. Top celebrities have even worn her pieces, including David Bowie, Angelina Jolie, Radcliffe, Meryl Streep, and that's just naming a few. She's also written and self-published her first book, Izzy's Eating Plan. And we also have Bevan Jett. She's part of our Everything ALS team. She has followed her passion for both children and healthcare into pediatric occupational therapy to work with children with developmental delays. So with her partner, Dave Warnock, who's also part of the Everything ALS team, he was diagnosed with ALS in 2019, and she is his caregiver, and she's an advocate for educating others on ALS and compassionately expediting the FDA process of trials and approvals for promising new ALS therapies. So please join me, everyone, in welcoming Billy, Izzy, and Bevan. So Billy, let's start with you.
Oh, awesome. Well, first off, thank you so much for this opportunity. I mean, it really is an honor to be here tonight. I wanted to give kind of a backstory behind our brand. And then after I give the backstory and kind of talk about some of my own personal experiences, I was then going to share the website to show some of the products we have to offer. Okay, so we're a shoe company. So one of my challenges, being a wheelchair user, I was having a very hard time shoving my foot into a shoe. In addition, I just don't have very good hand dexterity. So the trick is we wanted to be able to create something that would allow me to be empowered to be able to put my shoes on again. So what we came up with was the idea of having a zipper that would go on the outside of the shoe and around the toe, so the whole upper of the shoe could fold over. So as you can see in this image, it looks like a regular shoe, but then you can see with the zipper going on the outside, it allows that whole upper to fold over. So it completely opens it up and it leaves the footbed unobstructed to be able to place your foot in and out. So we found that we wanted to take fashion and function and essentially smash it together in the spirit of universal design to be able to bring something to market. So it's been pretty exciting, the response that we've been receiving. So it's interesting, all these planets, on planet Earth, all these countries that are marked in green, these are all countries that have actively reached out to us to want to buy the product. And this is all through our website, BILLYFootwear.com. And as we've grown, we've also gained retail partners. So we have retail partners in Canada, throughout the United States. We have in Mexico, South America, throughout Europe, and also in Australia and New Zealand. So it's been really cool to have this small little idea grow into what it's become. So really the backstory, I touched on a little bit. When I was 18 years old, I was a freshman in college. Unfortunately, I fell out of a 3-story window. And when that happened, I went headfirst to concrete and I broke my neck and I broke my back. And in just a flash second, I had a spinal cord injury and it made me paralyzed from the chest down, essentially from the nipple line down. My body just doesn't move. My limbs, my upper arms, I have biceps and I have a wrist function. But in terms of finger dexterity, I mean, my fingers move, but I can't get my brain to move my fingers. So, I mean, yes, I can move my arms. Yes, I push a manual wheelchair to get around, but that motor skill, that fine dexterity, I just don't have it. So that was in 1996 when I broke my neck. And, ever since then, it's a matter of trying to figure out ways to gain independence. And I figured out a lot of things along the way to how to, make it through the day. But the one thing that always escaped me was shoes. So when I re-met my longtime friend, Mr. Darin Donaldson, and we were throwing around ideas, I threw an idea at him talking about a shoe design, which essentially became that zipper that goes around the toe, the whole upper folds over, you step in. Now, coincidentally, he was working on his own shoe project. And, eventually we just made a prototype. So when I put my shoes on again with that prototype, I was 36 years old. So I broke my neck at 18. I put my shoes on again at 36. So literally half a lifetime later, I was taking back that independence. And the moment was so special, we just had to share it. So what we want to do, again, like fashion, function, smash it together and be on the shelves of major retailers. So the thing is, given the functionality of our shoes, we get wrapped up in the conversation of like the adaptive community, just because of that function. And one thing that really excites me, and I'm sure Izzy can attest to this as well, the market out there when it comes to fashion, when it comes on the adaptive side, it's a huge, huge market. And the part that's so exciting is there's so many companies now that are really paying attention to that. And they're creating products to be able to bring it into the marketplace, to be able to, very much with under the banner of inclusion. So when you look at this slide right here, the global market for adaptive, I mean, this is a cited reference from Footwear News and a bunch of other places. It's almost a $400 billion market. Now that number is so big, I can't even grasp it. It's just like, I can't even fathom how big that number is. But one thing I can say is when you drill down and you look at just the US adaptive shoe market, if that's a $10 billion industry, if you just capture 1% of that, that's a $100 million business. So businesses are paying attention to this, and they're understanding that, yes, there's the the betterment of society. And yes, there's, we morally have a responsibility to bring inclusion, but it also makes perfect business sense. And a lot of people, because people are paying attention to that, we have more opportunities now than we've ever had before. And that excites me. So we partner with a lot of retail partners. Here's a list of various retail partners that we're with. When we first started off, we partnered with Zappos and Nordstrom. Along the way, we brought up Von Maur and Shields, and amongst a bunch of others. We teamed with Target recently for some kid line, kind of an entry price coming in, and the line just keeps growing and growing and growing. And just those relationships with the market, in the market keeps increasing too. So how do we do that? How do we reach these audiences? Well, we're very active in social media. And I love this slide because the part on the right-hand side, that Facebook post, there was a mom that went into a Nordstrom one time and she had a very successful experience. And she went home and made a post on Facebook about it, essentially saying, "Moms, I found a solution for my daughter." Her daughter wore braces on her feet and just had a very challenging time putting on her own shoes. So it was a type of post that there wasn't much to it, but it just got legs and people started sharing it over and over and over. And within 3 days' time, this nice simple post was shared 280,000 times. Now, lifetime, it's been shared over 500,000 times. So it's exciting because our small little shoe idea of me wanting to put my shoes on again, all of a sudden got into this, vein. They got shared all over the place, and a bunch of people started learning about the brand and reaching out. And because of that, let me go back. Because of that, it's allowed us to grow. So when we first started, we started just with kids, and it's allowed us to expand into toddler and adult. And then the next step was going into more widths, and then it's going into athletic and more boots. So our SKU count keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which allows us to add more value to the community. We've also had some awesome opportunities to collaborate with nonprofits. It's such an honor to, collaborate with Everything ALS. A bigger one that we just started collaborating with was Special Olympics. So that gal, we're based out of Seattle. That young girl right there, Ariana, she's based in Federal Way, which is about 30 minutes south of us. She's in our actual our first athletic shoe called the Inclusion One. So this type of stuff, I'm saying the word excited a lot, but this stuff really excites me because that athletic sneaker is an area that we have not been able to get into yet. And we just launched it and it's going very, very well. Along the way, we have just so many incredible stories. One thing that we find is everybody has a story. And by, spotlighting and highlighting those stories, it allows us all to not only add value, but to receive just like various, just fantastic information to be able to, we're just better as a community when we're able to share all these stories and hear the successes and parts where we struggle, those failures. We can all kind of, learn from each other. And failure, it's not necessarily it's something that we can all, learn from. So people behind us don't need to fail in the same way we did. I've made so many failures, oh my gosh, through the years. So it's fun for me to be able to share those failures so other people don't have to, make the same failures I did. One of my mentors said, you know what, if you're going to be going through a minefield, it's better to walk in the footprints ahead of you, because those who went ahead of you with those footprints, you're stepping in those footprints, you're not going to get yourself blown up. If you step outside of that, that's when you start going on your own way and you're at more risk of getting blown up. So following the footsteps of others, and then, I don't know, I kind of rambled there, went on a bit of a tangent, but that was a very empowering, piece of feedback that I got from my mentor. These guys are amazing. These are all kids, of course. We have lots of other ambassadors that are adults, but these are just some of the ones that I had highlighted already on this slide. That young gentleman, Mateo, he has brittle bones disease at the year of 8 years old. He had already broken 50 bones. Charlie in the lower left-hand corner, he has cerebral palsy. Lourdes, she also has cerebral palsy. And then the Tussing family, both boys have autism. So it's awesome to be able to provide some sort of product where they can all be successful. And this is another fun one I always like to throw in. Along the way, we started getting some attention. So last Christmas, we were in this movie, We Can Be Heroes, that launched on Christmas Day. And so the one in the lower right-hand corner, Ghostbusters, that movie launches tomorrow. So if you go and see that movie, Miss McKenna Grace, who is the heroine of the movie, those red high tops on her feet that she wears the whole movie, those are our BILLY red jersey high tops. So just crazy. I mean, they reached out to us and not only did they buy the shoes, but they paid for shipping. So it was just a double bonus. So it's really exciting to be able to have our shoes with that in that audience. So before I pivot to the website, I just want to say that, as a brand, we really want to, obviously as a business owner, we want to be successful because as a successful brand, we're able to add more value. But it's a matter of we want to be more than that. We want to be a brand of success and a brand of significance. And really what we do is we strive to add value, and we really want to make a measurable difference in this world, one foot at a time. And the way we do that is by building relationships, collaborating with others, being a part of the community, sharing the conversations, and just moving forward together. So lastly, before I go to the website, here's kind of the contact information. Social, we're at BILLY Footwear, website, billyfootwear.com. And if you ever want to reach out to us, info@billyfootwear.com is the best way to reach us. Now to the website so you can see the shoes. Okay, so here's our landing page. These are the various boots that we were able to launch this year. These run up to, this boot right here runs up to a big kid size 9, which equates to a women's size 11 and a men's size 9. This cozy boot right here also goes up to that size. But the ones I really want to highlight is, let me scroll down a little bit, so there's more. But the ones I really want to highlight are, stand by, in the collections under wide shoes. So as I mentioned, we first started with kids shoes, then we moved into toddler and adult shoes, and then we started going wider. And what we found was there's lots of folks out there that utilize orthotics, or like myself, I get swollen feet. By the end of the day, my feet are swollen, so I need to actually have a bigger shoe. But there's also, those that have much wider feet anyways. So some of these shoes right now, we just launched in both men's and women's, extra, not only wide, but extra wide. So this one right here, for example, this one comes into a 6E, like a 6E. I mean, that's a nice wide shoe. So we've had customers that are just so excited for this shoe because not only is it convenient with the zipper to be able to put on, but we're able to accommodate that width that so many others have not been able to accommodate. So this is really exciting. We have a number of shoes in men's sizing with all the way up to a 6E. And then on the women's side, they go up to a triple E. And then also on the kids side, they're not on the website quite yet, but launching next week, we have extra wide high tops for kids too. We've had a lot of, as I mentioned, we have a lot of customers that wear orthotic braces, and some of those braces get to be rather bulky. And it's just been great to be able to listen to the customer feedback and then be able to create some sort of widget that's really going to help them out. A lot of people are kind of on the edge of their seat waiting for that stuff to launch. So I don't have it up on the website yet, but I will have it up next week before Thanksgiving. So that's kind of a real crash course of our brand right now. I think I'll throw it back to you guys, and hopefully we'll have some question and answer towards the end.
All right. So hi, my name is Izzy Camilleri. I am from Canada. I'm a Canadian fashion designer, and I have been a designer since 1984. I started on my own when I was 19 years old, as green and inexperienced as anybody at 19 who thinks they can do everything. So I managed to make a strong name for myself, even though I was quite young and didn't know anything, but I did put out some really strong work and had a lot of good times, bad times. I started a company and fell on my face several times, but managed to keep picking myself up and dusting myself off. And fast forward to 2004, I was contacted by a woman named Barbara Turnbull. Actually, you know what? I'm going to share my screen right now and just show you some of my fashion work. I pulled up my website. I have a website, which is a gallery of my past and present work. So this is a website that I have that is a gallery of my work. This is a website of my previous work, and I don't really want to spend too much here, but I just want to kind of show you the kind of work that I was doing In the past, I've also done a lot of film work and worked with a lot of celebrities, done a lot of music work. I was building up my career, and then in 2005, I met a woman named Barbara Turnbull, who in 1984, when she was only 18 years old, she was shot during a convenience store robbery at a place where she worked for only 3 months. It was a part-time job, during high school. And she became quadriplegic from that injury. She was shot very high up in the neck, so she lost all function from the point of impact down. And she, after she got out of the hospital about a year later, she finished high school, became a journalist, and then started working at our local paper here in Toronto. And she had been a wheelchair user for, about 20 years until, and during that time, she really struggled with clothing. And she reached out to the fashion editor at the Star, where she could get some custom clothing done, because she really wanted to start dressing better, and she wanted to find someone who could help her with her clothing. And the fashion editor recommended me because of the type of clothing she was looking for. She just kind of thought I'd be able to help her out. So we met. I was really unsure about how I could help her, because I'd never worked with someone who was a wheelchair user. I'd never worked with someone who was like pretty, very paralyzed, like, from the neck down, she couldn't move anything. So I was, very careful with my language. I was very careful about how to measure her and how to handle her. But the first piece turned out great. And then from that piece, we started making more and utilizing the pattern that we created. And then we started talking about pants and the struggles that she had with pants. So again, we started making pants that worked for her. And during this whole time, I just became such a sponge, and, just like Billy, really listened to what her challenges were. And with pants, when you're sitting down all day, a regular made pair of pants, they kind of cut you in your gut when you're sitting. They ride down at the back. And that can cause a lot of problems. There's even things like pressure sores when you're sitting all day long, especially when you can't feel. You can develop these sores, which are very similar to bed sores, which could eventually be life-threatening. So all of this, I had no idea. There's another issue is organ settling when you're sitting all day long, and your stomach muscles don't function the way that they used to, let's say before you were paralyzed or before your medical condition. So when organs settle, your waistline increases. So again, those pants that are kind of already cutting into your gut are going to be very uncomfortable. I had one woman who she had a hard time breathing because of those things that were happening. So as I was working with Barb, I realized that if she's got all these problems with clothes, then there's got to be a lot of other people out there with the same problem. So I asked her if she would consider putting a little focus group together for me to just start meeting and talking to other people. And what I learned much later was that when I did ask her this question, she sincerely wanted to help me, but at the same time, she, after her being in a chair for 20 years and no one had ever, offered or come up with a collection of clothing that was going to work for someone like herself or people living with a disability, because that that community is just so diverse and so different, and there's so many different body types and conditions and all that. And she just really thought that there was no way that someone could kind of like, kind of figure it out or like crack that code. So, but she she actually was humoring me by putting this little event together, and we had a little event in her home, and she invited 3 other women, so plus herself there was 4 women, and each woman had something different to contribute with regard to their clothing challenges, their likes, their dislikes, what worked, what didn't. And by the end of the night, I was actually so confused, and I really thought that I didn't think I could put something together that was going to work for the majority. And I really wanted to create a collection, because doing custom work was just going to be very difficult and challenging, and also expensive. And I knew that it would be cost prohibitive as well. So I kind of put the idea aside. And however, at the meeting, there was this young girl who was in her early 20s. She had been injured from a sports accident. And she was also left quadriplegic. So her injury, she had broken her neck from her injury. And she was a very, very fashionable young woman who, clothing and fashion was extremely important to her. And since her injury, she really struggled to look the way that she wanted to. So she contacted me to make her a coat, and I did. And we kind of designed it together. It worked out great. And about a week later, she contacted me to tell me that people were literally stopping her on the street, complimenting her on her coat. And she just wanted to thank me. And I was really blown away by this compliment, because I really realized at that moment that I'd given her way more than just a coat, and that I had given her, her sense of self, her dignity, her independence, her inclusion as well. Because, when something like this happens to a person, your identity can be stripped away if you can't dress the way that you used to, or, be that person that you used to be. And clothing is such a, important part of that. So at that moment, I kind of decided to create a line of clothing that was going to work for the majority. And at the same time, I kind of figured out how I can do that. And what I realized is that although the disabled community is so different and diverse, on the most part, especially like if you break your back, your body necessarily doesn't change. Your body it's more the ability of your body. So, but you still have the same body, but it's the function of that body. And then I realized that, for wheelchair users, which what I ended up really specializing in, it's the difference between if you're a power chair user or a manual chair user. And your ability is usually higher when you are a manual chair user, and you need more help when you are a power chair user. So but from the waist down, there's a lot of similarities there. So I was able to create clothes that are cut to follow the line of a seated person, and incorporate just styles that we have in our wardrobes, like jeans, chinos, dress pants, coats, and tops. So I created a brand called Izzy Adaptive, and I started it in 2009. And just like Billy was talking about walking in the footsteps of others, and I'm sure just like Billy, Billy pioneered the shoes that he's doing, and I was also needing to pioneer what I was doing, because there was no company that was really serving a younger demographic. There's a lot out there for the elderly and for people living in long-term care facilities, but for a younger demographic, there was really nothing. And one thing I learned when I was working with Barb, my first client, was that, and this is a statistic in Canada, and it's a little bit old. I think it has changed a tiny bit, but it kind of gives you, a sense of the numbers. So 84% of people that break their back are usually between the ages of 18 and 34. And that's usually from car accidents and sports on the most part. And the remaining 16% is the elderly. So those numbers have changed a tiny bit, especially because of the aging population. And I think in the States, there's also a majority that is from violence. But 84%, that's a lot of young people who were struggling to find clothes. And one thing that I was told by Barb was that when she was first in the hospital, she was told by her occupational therapist that from now on she needed to dress in clothes that was easier for her attendant to dress her in. So that basically meant track pants or very loose fitting clothing. And when I heard that, it really, really bothered me, because I thought, this 18-year-old girl now had to learn to live her life all over again inside a paralyzed body, and you're asking to make it easier for the attendant. So that just didn't make sense to me. So now with these options, I'm being told that attendants grab these adaptive clothes because they are easier to get on than even a track pant, because they're cut better, they slip on better, they don't need to be adjusted all the time, which a lot of pants usually do. And we offer men's and ladies clothing. We don't offer children's right now. So I'll just go to the women's section and just show you some of the things that we do have. So we've got chinos. Oops, here we go. There's leggings, jeggings, which are just like leggings, but they have a denim look. We've got yoga pants, jeans, sweats, shorts, shirts. We also have coats. There's some coats here. And we do have some standing options. And this coat, for example, has magnets instead of buttons, so that it's easier for someone to do up. So if you lack dexterity, you just have to pull them apart. And one of the most recent things that we've done, which I'm really, really proud of and excited about, is we have something I'm calling the game changer. And it's a pant that has a seamless bottom. And why that's so important is because that center seam down the back of pants, as well as back pockets, can cause a life-threatening pressure sore. So these pants eliminate or lower that risk. I have a short little video here that I can show you. It's just a 10-second little clip.
The Game Changer pant takes you from a classic cut in the front to the revolutionary designed back, free of seams or pockets that a person would normally be sitting on, which can result in pressure sores.
So we have those for men and women in jeans, in sweats, in leggings, in chinos, and they've been doing really, really well. And we've been getting some really, really great feedback on them. So I think I've probably used up my time. But yeah, so you can find Izzy Adaptive at izzadaptive.com. And we have our social channels, which are all at Izzy Adaptive.
Thank you so much, Izzy and Billy. I'm so glad you guys were both able to share your lines and your stories. And you're both very passionate about making getting dressed easier for people who could use that. Bevan is our, do you use the abbreviation, or how do you say your title? Like, do you just say?
I'm what's called a CODA. It's a certified occupational therapy assistant. And okay. We're the ones that come in and help. I work in pediatric. Well, occupational therapy covers a whole gamut of basically helping people function. Yeah. And that could be anything from jobs or dressing or school for kids. I right now work with pediatrics with children and developmental skills and that type of thing. But occupational therapy also helps with ADLs for geriatrics or for injured, traumatic brain injury, that sort of thing. So certainly this is something that definitely would apply with occupational therapy, because there's so much adaptive type of things that are necessary as you lose motor function. And what I'm going to be talking about today is dressing, because that's what we're talking about.
Yay. And I want to remind everyone that Bevan and Dave Warnock are both members of our Everything ALS team, and Bevan is his caregiver. So I want you to share more. Bevan lives it too, because as you know, I mean, I helped my brother, and I know when people care for others, they're as much a part of all the solutions as being the one who needs it. So because they're the ones they're helping. So we're great. It's exciting to hear from somebody who not only has your experience, but also, you know, being a caregiver as well. So we're excited to hear what you can share with us.
Okay. The first thing I want to discuss is basically dressing from an OT perspective. And I thought it was very interesting what Izzy was talking about, in that the instinct is to try to make dressing easy for the caregiver. But that's not how occupational therapy approaches. What the priority is the patient. Certainly we want to work with the caregiver, because that's part of a whole team care type of thing, but it's really what the patient wants. And the reason I bring this up is that one of the things that we were discussing when we first came up with this idea was that the idea that you have to be fashionable maybe is important to some people, but not to other people. So I would not want the seminar to come across that, wow, if you really do like hanging out in sweatpants, there's something wrong with you, because there isn't, because I like hanging out in sweatpants. But no, it's just whatever you enjoy. The problem has been there really hasn't been a lot of pretty and attractive clothing available, or not sure what professional clothing, just the whole gamut. Until really fairly recently, and it's just exponentiated. I know I looked into this maybe a couple of years ago, and I only saw about 2 or 3 websites, and it was like most of it was for little kids, and it was very depressing. Also, it was pretty expensive. Now, I will say that a lot of adaptive clothing is more expensive. It's just margins. I mean, they just don't sell as many, so it's more expensive. But there are some companies, and I've got them on my list later for resources, that are now providing them at a less expensive price point. The second thing that we really emphasize in occupational therapy is patient's independence. And sometimes this isn't really popular with the patients. They're sort of like, I'm hurt, or I'm injured, or I'm weak. I want someone else to do it all for me. And while that might be kind of nice, it really doesn't help as far as really addressing you as a whole person and to be independent. And if for some reason you aren't able to get that help, how much can you do yourself? And so that's why we have a lot of adaptive tools and also adaptive clothing to help make dressing easier. And one of the really caveats on all of this is safety. Big thing is just fall prevention. I mean, just hurting yourself by trying to do something, trying to dress yourself and accidentally falling. So that's another thing that we'll talk about in a few minutes. Let me go to my next slide. And this is, okay, I'm just going to jump in on as far as just, these are just some techniques that it seems kind of self-evident, but I've been surprised sometimes to see people try to dress themselves, and if they have an injury, and there's just an easier way to do it. Basically, upper body dressing the garment, like a shirt or whatever you're trying to wear, you want to place the garment front side down with the neck at the top. You always want to use sleeves, put the sleeves on first, not put the neck in first. And a real caveat now, again, I will say all these things I'm talking about, ALS runs the gamut as far as what people can do. And so you may see some of these things and go, oh, that won't work for me. Well, no, it won't, because you may have a weakness in one area or another, but this is sort of the gamut of everything. And so some people have weakness that starts in one arm and not in the other. Others it's bilateral. I know with Dave, it was in both arms, but whatever the weaker leg or the weaker arm, that's what you always want to start with first. The instinct is to start with the strong leg or the arm, but you want to start with the weaker, so the stronger arms for you to be able to dress the rest of yourself. Again, clothing that has front closure or wide necks is easier. Dave likes to wear t-shirts, but it's becoming a little bit of a struggle, so front closure is better. Of course, front closure, you're going to start needing either adaptive devices like button hooks or Velcro and magnetic type of closures, which are pretty much widespread now when you look at adaptive clothing. And then also, especially if you're helping someone, if someone's starting to really need help with dressing, roll the sleeve into a ring. Don't try to wiggle and thread the whole arm through, because it's just harder as you're dressing a person. And then with lower body dressing, and most of this, this is for kind of independent dressing, to cross one leg over the other, not try to lean over and try to cross the weaker leg first, but that way you don't fall over, especially if you're trying to sit on a bed or a chair. Again, rolling the pants into a ring and slipping over the foot. Ideally, while your leg's up here, go ahead and put your socks and shoes on as well. There's adaptive devices for that too, we'll talk about in a minute. And then thread your pant legs on one at a time and pull up as high as you can. Sitting on the side of a bed or on a chair is probably going to make this a whole lot easier. One thing I would caution is make sure the person's fully seated on the bed and can't use, or the chair, and can't easily slide off. I know in a bed, even Dave and I have had that problem occasionally where he's not sitting enough and he starts to slide off. So it can happen even when you know what you're doing. And so just double check. Some people find lying in bed to pull up the pants easier if they're doing this independently. Again, that's dependent on how much upper body mobility and strength you have. Okay, and a lot of y'all may be already familiar with some of these, but if you're kind of newer to the game, you may not. They're just some classic dressing aids that can make life a lot easier. One is just a reacher for reaching for the clothes. This one, can you see my cursor by chance? No, okay, it's the one in the middle. Wait a minute. Oh, you know what? It's not the one in the middle. I don't have the picture of it. Oh, darn, I thought I put it in here. Okay, there is a special reacher, because what's the dilemma with reachers is that you have to have hand grip strength. And there is, and I can put it later on the notes, but there is actually a reacher that works totally on wrist flexion. And I thought I had it up here, but I put the wrong picture in here. And so the reacher part will grasp just by using wrist flexion instead of having to do a reacher grasp like this. You'll see over here, it's sort of a trigger finger here, and then here is just a full hand grasp, depending on how much strength you still have in your arms. And then again, a dressing stick is just really a long stick with the hook on the end. It helps putting on clothes like jackets and also pulling up some pants. A buttoner, and this is a button hook. I thought I had a picture, I may have it further down, that shows how you slide a button into the button hook. As you can see, it's rather small, so you can actually carry it with you if you're needing to use this, especially for pants. This would be in the early stages, or if you have a lot of finger dexterity still left. Otherwise, you'd probably be moving into Velcro or magnetic fasteners. And then a zipper pull is on the other side, right here at the other end of the button hook. And this helps to pull up zippers. As you move further along, it's probably easier just to go ahead and put some pulls on the actual zippers, leather cording, nylon cording. I've even seen people take little keychain decorative tassels and that match their clothing and hook it on with that as well. So you have something to pull a zipper up with. And this is to adapt clothes that are just your regular clothes already. a sock aid. This works if you have upper body strength. It doesn't work because you're actually pulling the sock on with these two ropes for that, but it works great for when you have lost lower body mobility but need to be able to put the sock on and just being able to pull it up over the leg. Also, if you're having a hard time moving or bending and that type of thing. And then a long-handled shoe horn helps as far as sliding into shoes. I think Billy was talking about slip-on shoes, but even with those, sometimes it can be hard to slide in. And this is a little neat thing that, oops, I moved too fast. I hit the wrong thing. I'm trying to move my window around so I can keep the cursor in the right place. This is a lazy shoe helper, and I don't know if you can see this small picture, but this is where you can actually just keep them in shoes, or a caregiver can put them in the shoes, and then you can easily slip on the shoes yourself, and those can be pulled out. They're kind of neat too. And they're available like at Walmart. They're not very expensive. When you're looking for upper clothing for the upper body, again, you want to get like roomy armholes and wide neck openings. It's harder with the cuff sleeves, just that type of thing. I'm showing a couple of pictures here of different items that are actually available, in which this is a particular garment that zips the sleeves. It zips all the way up and all the way down, so it's very easy to put on for especially if you're a caregiver or in a wheelchair. This would be an example of Velcro closures, but if you see there's buttons on the outside, so you don't realize there's Velcro closures. And zipper pulls are great, but trying to engage a zipper lock is pretty hard. And this is actually a magnetic zipper lock down here at the bottom. So really a lot can be done with magnets and with Velcro. For that. Basically, this is the type of clothing for the lower body. Again, stretch knit fabrics with elastic bands are a lot easier. Now, that again goes back into the whole sweatpant looks. Well, not really. As you probably just saw, like with Izzy and on a bunch of different websites, they now make a lot of pants. They're stretchy and they have elastic waist, but they have like jeans where there's a faux fly in the front. So they don't look like stretch elastic pants, but they do, but they are. And they don't have pockets in the back. So for seated, you don't have the problem with the pressure sores. Here, like you can have skirts or wraparound dresses for women. It just makes it a lot easier, even a culotte versus having things that have a back closure. Again, just adding leather or cord pulls to the zippers. And then you can also add loops to the on your pants to help pull them up for that. And just the same with shirts, Velcro magnetic buttons. I know with Dave, we just immediately just put Velcro on the inside of all of his shorts and pants, and he was able to snap his pants that way. Undergarments. Well, with bras, front closure bras, and there's actually a company that makes them with Velcro, makes it a lot easier, or magnetic clothing, or some people just go ahead and resort to like tank tops that have a built-in bra. That's a lot easier to use than a regular bra. Basic with underwear, bottom parts is you want wide leg openings, like boxers for men, French cut underwear. If you see, this is like with some people call them high rise, but it just has a very wide leg opening, makes it easier to put on. Some people opt to not wear any underwear at all after a while, just because it's a hassle. And a lot of times you don't know if people are going commando or not. So if you can get away with it, sometimes there's no reason why you really have to have underwear on if you don't mind not wearing it. Again, if you're trying to look professional, just calf or thigh high hose works a lot easier than regular pantyhose, or even leggings. And these by Silverx, they're a great company that has a lot of adaptable clothing. And these are just leg high leggings that, I mean, calf high leggings that have pull things to make it easier to get on. And then a suggestion, if you have AFOs, that you can use calf-high leg warmers to hide that. One thing that I did want to point out was if you're not wearing shoes, it's easy to slip and fall. So these type of socks that have the skid bottoms, that no skid bottoms, are an excellent choice. Make great stocking stuffers. And then shoes, well, Billy covered a lot on the shoes, so I won't linger here too much. Here are just some ideas as far as like if you have your standard shoes, you can actually get the little pull laces that they just stay. You just knot them and they're permanently that way, and they become like slip-on shoes. Again, like Billy was discussing, Velcro fasteners work very well, and just slip-on loafers. And as you can see here, they don't have to be ugly. And so they're just different companies that offer that. And a lot of them have like a mock lace type of thing, so no one really knows they're even a slip-on. But whenever you're buying shoes, you want to make sure that the soles are not slippery. A lot of shoes have slippery soles. Even rubber can be slippery. So again, that's a safety thing to make sure that they don't slip. Even if you're in a wheelchair, slippery shoes tend to slip off the footrest, and that can be a hassle if you don't have the strength to get your legs back on the footrest by yourself. Okay. And I wanted to address, a lot of times people sort of think, well, you know, if I'm not able to put things on very easily, they sort of forego like trying to look snazzy. And yet there's ways to still do that. Like for example, with men's with ties, there's slip-on ties that just look like regular ties. And that can be an option. Some people have found that they struggle so much with trying to put on shirts, and especially t-shirts, and they'll wear like arm warmers, and it can look really cute. These again were by Silverts, and they have pull tabs, so you can pull the arm warmers on easily with that. Necklaces, these are little magnetic closures that you buy for your current necklaces. If you can see, you can attach one at each end, and then that's the magnet in the middle that closes the necklace. So you're not having to, if you don't have the fine motor skills, be able to open this, you can put in the necklace fairly easily. Earrings are a little tougher. Probably the easiest earrings to put on would be what's called levered back earrings. And I've given an example here what a levered back earring looks like. One recommendation is, if you really just aren't able to put on earrings anymore by yourself, is to go and get some little stud. In fact, I've got someone right now, little stud earrings, and that are very comfortable, that you can even sleep in, because then you don't have to take them on and off, and you've got earrings on. I included there are so many designs for like stretchy bracelets that are easier to put on than anything with a clasp. And then again, I'm not sure, that shouldn't be on there. Okay. And here are just some safety tips. One thing is, when you're buying clothing and you're in a wheelchair, I did talk about, you know, pants as far as for the pressure sores and that type of thing. Make sure it doesn't have seams. They're going to cause irritation. But the other thing is, the garments, you don't want them being able to be so loose and billowy, or the arms to be loose and billowy where they can get caught in the wheelchair spokes or cause tripping if you have too long on the pants for that. This is a good example of jeans that are made for wheelchairs. If you see, it has a higher rise back. It doesn't have any back pockets, and that's to, and it's got the elastic, adjustable elastic waist. So that makes it a lot more ideal for not slipping down in a wheelchair, and also not causing pressure sores. And one thing you always want to make sure when you're buying anything, especially because ALS starts to affect breathing eventually, is just avoid really fuzzy or furry or just anything that can shed feathers or anything like that, because that can cause some breathing issues as well. And I have a button now, stretch out all to memorize this. There's a bunch of resources as far as different companies, and I added a couple just to give you some ideas on these slides. But what we'll do is, when this is on the actual YouTube, down below in the comment section, I'll put more information. Also, we can keep updating it there, because companies, new companies sprout up, and actually some companies got a business. I was finding a number of adaptive clothing businesses. They'll be startups and they may not be around anymore. So we want to make sure we keep that up to date.
So you mentioned JCPenney in there, right, Bevan? Because that's
it should be in there.
I think I did see it.
Yeah, let me see if I can go back.
I know they just have a
There they are.
They have a huge line of all sizes, and yeah, so I just want to make sure it was there. Yay.
JCPenney, Target, they have that both has some really neat stuff. They're a little bit less expensive. There's Izzy's. So there's a wealth of, I mean, I can talk all day and show clothing all day. There's a wealth of clothing out there to be able to choose from, and everything from very dressy to very casual. So definitely 7 Jeans has now gotten involved, and they have adapted jeans. They're very, you wouldn't know they were adapted jeans, and except for the person wearing them. So it's really nice for that.
So thank you for that, Bevan. I mean, that leaves people with a lot of options and websites to check out. And we do want to save some time for questions. So I'm going to have Sarah Diaz, who's on the Everything ALS team. She's going to do all the questioning, and Billy and Izzy, if you guys can just address whatever questions pertain to your particular lines, that would be great.
Yes. So like Lisa said, my name is Sarah Diaz. I am an Everything ALS team member. I lost my dad in 2018 to ALS. And this topic specifically is really important to me because he definitely struggled with clothing. Not only was my dad 6'2", and I'm a solid 5'2" on a good day. So I really had a hard time pulling things up when helping him out, but also he was a businessman that worked up until about 4 days before he passed, and we never really found any options. So shoes was a big struggle for us. So this has been such a great time to see that so much has come even in the short time since then. So myself and also McFinn will be doing questions kind of back and forth. And the first question kind of goes to all three of you, but how is it that people going through ALS, or even maybe caregivers, can get involved or help with suggestions or giving ideas that maybe they're going through that could be a potential aid in design or something? Is there a way that happens through these different companies?
I could start, I guess. So we send out a newsletter all the time, and we do have an email address, info@billyfootwear.com. We're always open to suggestions. I mean, our design team is, actively, we're always taking in input. Unfortunately, we can't make a shoe overnight. So we do have to kind of put it into the timeline to build it. But everything that you see on billyfootwear.com, that all came from customer feedback and suggestions. We had a starting point, but where we went from there, it was all based on feedback from customers. So your input's very important. Just understand that we can't do it overnight, and it does kind of take, we need to work into the cash flow as well. But, your feedback, this is we're all part of the same community, right? So your feedback is very valuable.
Good. And I actually I don't know if you saw in the chat, but somebody was saying something about the AFOs, and then instantly you went right into your talk about the wide shoes. So it was kind of interesting if you watched that on the chat while you were presenting, that they were like, oh, and there they go. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, with that AFO shoe, I mean, we thought we went wide enough, and then we got feedback going, you need to go wider. Like, okay, well, we'll work it in the best we can, and here we are.
That's awesome. What about you, Izzy?
Yeah, exactly what Billy said. We're always open to customers telling us what their issues are, or what would work well for them. And I think we need to kind of, like, if just one person has that issue and we really don't hear it from anybody else, we can't really start developing something for one person. But the more we hear and repeated people telling us the same thing, then we can start incorporating that kind of stuff. And then sometimes it could be something that like with our clothes, we've already kind of taken the clothes to a certain point. So So sometimes it might be just then taking it to a tailor to maybe add a zipper somewhere if you need to accommodate, your catheter and things like that. So those are other things that we can suggest is, we've taken the clothes to a certain point, and then you might just need to adjust it one step further and just customize it for yourself. But we're always open for people emailing us and sharing their needs.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. It's really a pleasure to have you, Billy and Izzy and Bevan. We need people who have experience. And this question is going to go to Billy first. Billy, there's something that's pushing you to move forward with this. What's the inspiration inside of you that you want to see everybody feeling that they have the proper shoe?
Oh, wow. Well, that's a big question. I can really only speak for myself. And it really stems for actually the day that I broke my neck. When I fell 3 stories headfirst to concrete, you crunch those numbers, I very well could have died that day. And I didn't. And I was able to, come away from that injury. Not walking away from it, but I was still able to stay, I was still alive. So I went to a dark place immediately. Basically, my mindset was set on like I just felt like it wasn't worth living if I couldn't walk. And but I was able to get through that simply from the association, the people around me that kind of believed in me before I believed in myself. So it was really a situation where I was able to embrace what I still had and let go of what I lost. So every day that I have is just a bonus day, really. So I've been on this planet 25 years extra, of bonus. So that is really where my drive comes from. And it's really rooted in trying to do the best I can with the time that I have. So that's
right. Well,
that's what carries me.
There's something that's always carrying each of us. And Izzy, what is it that's that you put in your tank that makes you get up every day and want to make a new design?
Well, for me, once I started working with my first client, I realized that there's just so much out there for able-bodied people. And I realized that I can put my own talents and experience into some really important and needed work. So, I know how valuable the clothes I do are to people and what they mean and how much they help. And, so it's so much more than just fashion. And, just like Bevan said, not everybody loves to be fashionable. Sometimes sweatpants is what you want to be in. But at the same time, having the right clothes with those adaptations, but then it still adds inclusion and sense of self and all of that. So it's just so much more meaningful to be doing this kind of work than, just regular fashion. There's so much out there, and this is just so needed.
Thank you, dear.
You're welcome.
Passion is fuel, and it sounds like you got it, Izzy.
Bevan, this question's for you. How and what suggestions may you have for somebody who is tall, or maybe taller than their caregivers? Are there ways to kind of alleviate the I'm a foot shorter than my dad issue?
Are you frozen?
Can you hear us? I can hear you.
Now I can hear you. You froze up on me. I don't know what happened. Okay.
I said, what suggestions or tips do you have for helping dress somebody who may be taller than their caregiver?
Taller than their caregiver, as far as reaching up like a significant size difference. Usually, helping seated position helps. Like if you're trying to put on upper body type of things.
What about lower body?
I'm not sure what I mean. The lower body, I'm not sure why there would be much of a difference as far as, because we're not talking about transfers, right? We're talking about just putting on the clothes, and you can roll them in bed as far as pulling up the back. But if they're tall and you can't like reach up to them, just sit them down.
Okay.
for that.
Yeah,
I'm
just
not
any
sure if that's the
suggestions. That was
question.
always no, you're good. That was always a difficulty with height differences, and it looks like somebody put in the chat that sometimes inseams can be a little bit difficult with taller people. And so I just wanted to hear what your opinion was on size differences. So the bed suggestion is a good one to have them lay down and roll. That was what we used. So
For that, yeah. I mean, what works, that type of thing.
Is the question more about where to find longer pants, adaptive longer length pants? That's what I thought the question was. Not so much how to put them on. They were saying that they're having trouble getting a longer inseam, and if you knew anyone or a brand that carries the different lengths, like Billy Shoes has the different widths. Are there pants companies that have like tall man pants?
Yeah, I don't know specifically. We can certainly look into that and get back. That person wants to email us and see if it's out there. But that's a good question. I don't know the ins and outs of all the different fashion that's available, but that's a good question.
Thank you.
I have to Google
Izzy,
that.
hey Izzy, do you see, do you have a vision for the future of adaptive clothing? Do you see it where it's going?
Well, it's definitely growing, and it's growing very fast. Just like Billy said, the projections over the next 5 years are huge, like $400 billion globally. So I know that in the next year as well, there's going to be a lot more major brands coming out with adaptive lines. And there's already quite a few that are already, just like, Bevan was saying as well, like there's Tommy Hilfiger, Nike has adaptive shoes, 7 Jeans as well. Target has entered the arena. Zappos, they are more of a company that they don't design themselves, but they've, accumulated quite a category. There's lots more online places that are selling adaptive clothing as well. So it's just at its infancy right now, but it's starting to really move very, very fast.
Great.
in regards to what you just said about everything is growing, I know a big concern with the adaptive line is sometimes the price. Patients and families are having to adjust to a new lifestyle with new sometimes financial margins. So what are your thoughts on are there ways to help with cost or in maybe your particular spaces, or do you think that maybe in this growth there will be a kind of a change to even out that playing field a little bit? Just trying to get an overall thought perspective.
Yeah. Well, for me, it is about scale, and I'm not Walmart, so like I can't compete with lower end pricing, because I'm just not doing that kind of scale of production. So that is what makes it challenging, and we do get a lot of people that are looking for better priced, and they do think it's something that we can control and that we can lower our prices, but it's just not that simple, because fabric costs are expensive, manufacturing is expensive, especially if you're producing in North America. So those are the challenges we face, and it's really hard when we do get people complaining or people like struggling financially. It does make it really challenging.
Thank you.
And at the same time, there are people too that live with a disability that do have, they are in a category where they can't afford it. So it's a balance, and we're always trying to better our prices, but we do have our own challenges as a business, that we need to meet.
Surely.
Mm-hmm.
On that topic, just I know several smaller nonprofits that give mini grants for just this type of thing. So if someone is struggling financially and needs help with a pair of shoes or some clothing, If you want, you can contact me at deb@everythingals, and I can help you locate a nonprofit that might be able to help you.
Thank you, Deb. We've got a question from one of our extended family, and it says, my toes curl over most shoes hurt my toes. Your shoes offer more height for toes. Billy.
I guess that's a question.
Yeah,
Do they offer more height?
his toes are curling, and so
Yep.
they're raising up in the shoe. Do you have extra room in the front of the shoe for curled toes?
Well, so the toe, I mean, it depends on the silhouette. The easy answer would be say yes, but it may not necessarily be available in every silhouette. So we do have a sizing chart that kind of helps describe, the actual shape of the shoe. It goes a little bit more in depth than just like the length and width. We try to capture the actual circumference of the foot more by the ball, as well as like more above the arch, to kind of give like more of an understanding of the volume of the shoe. I do know that personally, like my toes also curl, but I know that part of that was relieved by just being able to set my foot in flat instead of having to shove my foot into a shoe. Like every time I shoved my foot into a shoe, I had no idea what those toes were doing because I don't have feeling at the end of my toes, nor do I have visibility of what's going on there. Or, even if my socks are like wrinkled or something like that. So being able to have it open up completely where you can place your foot in flat, you can squish it down if you want, get the placement right, and then zip it up. That in itself was significantly better than your traditional shoe. So I hope that helps. I mean, I guess that's my answer.
Sure, and it really helps. Thank you.
Another question from the chat stated, how's the ability for finger/hand weakness to pull the zipper? If that might be a little bit more difficult. Is that zipper pull that Bevan was talking about able to work with the shoes?
Yeah, it's a great question. The shoe, so again, like using my own, like I'll use myself as an example. I don't have the ability to squeeze that zipper pull. So what we've done is we've made it very easy for the end user to be able to modify it if they need to. So what I do on my shoes, when I get it, I actually take that zipper pull off and I make the loop a little bit bigger. So I can actually put my thumb through it. So I can really hook my whole hand and then pull it up. That zipper pull that she was, that Bevan was showing, I had that same zipper pull. I use that with my clothes. It works fantastic. That could also work. But we tried to make it, that zipper pull, that pulley at the end of it, customizable because, every customer is going to have like their own unique need, right? So we just tried to make it adjustable for the end user.
Thank you, Billy. Glenn, would you like to take yourself off mute and ask your question? Glenn, did you have a question? I noticed you have your hand up. Take yourself off mute.
He can't, Big Fin.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you can't. Sorry.
Hold on.
Nobody
Go ahead.
can take themselves off mute.
No, I can.
There we
Go ahead. I can hear you, Glenn.
Okay, Glenn.
Yeah, I have a problem with my normal like gym shorts, anything with an elastic waistband, trying to get that over my bum and up to my waist. And also, I have Hilfiger adaptive jeans, and they're helpful. But getting a shirt tucked in, that seems to be the weak point for my arms. So I guess Bevan is the best person to ask if there's anything that can help make that easier for me. I hate to come out of the shower and break a sweat trying to get dressed,
So are you talking about keeping the shirt tucked in, or are you talking about getting it initially tucked in?
Getting it initially tucked in and, just pretty much doing anything around my waist. Picking up, gym shorts is rough with an elastic waistband as well.
Picking up or pulling up gym shorts?
Pulling up.
Yeah. Izzy? I think Izzy's trying to unmute.
Yeah, so I have a suggestion, Glenn. One thing that we do on our elastic waist offering, so most of the items that we offer with a fully elastic waist, we've added two kind of horizontal, looks like a belt loop, but it's made out of elastic. So there's two at the sides and there's one at the center at the back. So you're able, if you lack grip or you lack strength in your hands, you can cup your fingers up through the horizontal loops and help pull your pant up. And then when we did see that once you kind of pull your pants up at the sides and you reach your butt cheeks, you need that extra one at the center of the back to pull it up over your cheeks. So I know that that helps a lot of people. And that might be something that you could even add to your own garments, just, go to a local tailor or a seamstress and just add some elastics horizontally to help. You can just cup your hands underneath and pull them up.
The problem is not with the grip. I can grip them fine. The problem is strength to raise them. The elastic is holding it down, holding it close to my body. And I don't have the strength to raise it up to my waist. So it's not a problem with grasping it. It's a problem with raising it.
Are you talking about sort of tighter type gym shorts, like more tights type gym shorts?
Yeah, well, anything with elastic waistband, a jock strap, underwear, like even just tucking in my shirt into my pants. So anything around the waist is difficult for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things I do recommend is not necessarily, most fashion doesn't require shirts to be tucked in unless it's dress wear. And there are, believe it or not, men's garter type things that can clip onto shirts and hold them around the leg, are sometimes just under, if you have elastic underwear, tuck them inside the underwear to hold the shirts in. But as far as for the shorts, if the loops aren't, if you're not able to pull up with the loops, you probably need shorts that are not quite so tight to slide up, because those loops should be, if you have the strength to pull it. I mean, at some point, you may need some assistance if you don't have enough upper body strength to just pull up. But this is if you didn't have the hand dexterity and that type of thing.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
With that last question, thank you, Glenn. We are going to end our evening. Want to personally thank Izzy and Bevan and Billy for coming and sharing their knowledge and expertise. We have greatly appreciated it, and I can have seen in the chat tonight throughout the evening all the thanks for the useful information, and as this is something that everyone in ALS at some point has to deal with and figure out that balance, like Bevan was saying, between independence and still getting to be safe and everything else. So we appreciate so much everything that you've done and all the work that you're putting in, and we are looking forward to seeing all the things that come in the future. Now we will be transitioning to our open forum. During this time, we allow everyone to unmute themselves. We want to respect your time though, and say that you feel free if you do need to leave, that is totally fine. But it is a time for our community just to kind of talk about what we heard about tonight, and share any other tips that they may have already found. I know some people have their own advice and good skills that they have learned. And so in order to help others walk in their footsteps too, through that minefield, we can share that in our community. So again, thank you. And we appreciate your time, and we'll look forward to all the things. So,
all right, everybody, there you have another evening right to your living room. I really want to thank our guests for all of the pre-work, the years that they put into their products, and then they bring them to us tonight, and then we get to enjoy them. So thank you again to our guests,